Your heir is a drunk married to a woman who despises him. And we're both trapped in this gilded prison you call Thornfield Manor." Lady Constance made a small sound of distress. "Oh, Henry. We had no idea things were so unhappy." "Of course you didn't. No one sees anything in this family except what they want to see." Henry lurched toward the door. "I need air. This cellar is suffocating." Victoria moved to follow him. But Miss Marple's voice stopped her. "One moment, Mrs. Ashford. You went into the library just now. Or what were you looking for?" Victoria's mask of composure slipped momentarily. Edmund had certain letters. Personal correspondence that he was keeping in his briefcase. I needed to retrieve them before the police found them." "Letters concerning what?" "My past. Before I married Henry, there was someone else. A doctor I worked with during the war. Edmund discovered we had been corresponding again. He threatened to tell Henry. To use it as leverage. For something. I don't know what he wanted, but I couldn't let those letters fall into police hands." "Did you find them?" Miss Marple asked gently. "No. His briefcase was gone. The police must have taken it already." Victoria's shoulders sagged. "Everything is falling apart." Lord Ashford had been standing in stunned silence. But now he spoke. His voice strangely hollow. "It's Edmund was blackmailing you." "Not blackmail, exactly. He never asked for money. But he made it clear he had information that could destroy what little remains of my reputation, and yours, by extension." Miss Marple exchanged a significant glance with Lady Constance. Edmund Price, it seemed, had been a man with many secrets and many enemies. "We must tell Sergeant Wilmot about this," Lady Constance said firmly. "All of it?" "No." Victoria's composure shattered entirely. "Don't you understand? This gives me a perfect motive for murder. The police will arrest me, and I'm innocent. I didn't kill Edmund, no matter how much I might have wanted to." "Then who did?" Lord Ashford demanded. But the question went unanswered. They made their way back through the cell, in grim silence, the lamp casting grotesque shadows on the stone walls. As they climbed the stairs to the main floor, Miss Marple's mind was working rapidly. Victoria had motive and access to cyanide, but the seal on her vial was intact. Unless she had another source. Or unless she was clever enough to reseal it after use, though that seemed unlikely given the circumstances. The entrance hall was dark save for the dying fire in the grate. The young constable still dozed at his post, a fact that would no doubt cost him dearly when Sergeant Wilmot learned of it. "We should all try to get some rest," Lady Constance suggested, though her voice held no conviction. "Perhaps things will be clearer in the morning." But as they began to disperse toward their rooms, a sound made them all freeze. The distinct crash of breaking glass, coming from the floor above. "Diana's room," Victoria gasped. "Well, that's Diana's room." They rushed up the stairs, decorum forgotten. Diana's door stood ajar, and lamplight spilled into the corridor. Inside, the young woman stood in her nightdress, trembling violently, staring at her window, where one pane had been shattered. On the floor lay a rock wrapped in paper. Lord Ashford retrieved it carefully, unwrapping the paper with shaking hands. His face went white as he read the message scrawled in crude blocks. "Letters. Stop asking questions, or you'll be next." Diana's eyes found Miss Marple's. "Someone knows we've been investigating. Someone knows, and they're warning us." Or, Miss Marple said quietly. Her voice carrying a chill that had nothing to do with the night air streaming through the broken window. "Someone is trying very hard to frighten us away from the truth, which suggests we may be getting dangerously close to it." In the distance, a dog began to howl. A mournful sound that echoed across the dark grounds of Thornfield Manor, like a portent of more deaths to come. Chapter 7. The morning after dawn broke over Thornfield Manor with reluctant gray light, as though the sun itself was hesitant to illuminate what darkness the house concealed. Miss Marple had not slept. Instead, she had spent the remaining hours of the night sitting in the chair by her window, her knitting needles moving in steady rhythm, while her mind sorted through the tangled threads of the case. By 7 o'clock, she had dressed and made her way downstairs, where she found Mrs. Blackwood already at work in the breakfast room, her face drawn and weary. "Good morning, Miss Marple. I trust you managed some rest, despite the dreadful events?" The housekeeper's voice was professionally courteous, but her hands trembled slightly as she arranged the silver chafing dishes. "A little, thank you. Mrs. Blackwood, might I ask you something of a personal nature?" The housekeeper stiffened. "If you must. How long have you been in service at Thornfield Manor?" 22 years. 22 years. 22 years. I came here as an under-housekeeper when I was barely 30. Lord Ashford promoted me after the previous housekeeper retired. Then you know this family very well indeed. You must have observed much over the years. Mrs. Blackwood's expression became carefully neutral. "A good servant observes everything and says nothing, Miss Marple. That's how one maintains a position, even when murder has been committed." She glanced toward the door, ensuring they were alone, then leaned closer. "Mr. Price was not a good man, Miss Marple. Oh, he seemed respectable enough on the surface, a proper solicitor with his books and his contracts. But he had a cruel streak. He enjoyed holding power over people, knowing their secrets, making them dance to his tune." "Did he have power over you?" Mrs. Blackwood's jaw tightened. "My daughter. She got herself into trouble some years back. Fell in with a bad sort in the village. There was a theft, nothing serious, but it could have gone to the magistrate. Mr. Price made it disappear, used his connections. But he never let me forget it. Little reminders. His suggestions that my position here depended on his continued goodwill. That must have been very difficult." "Difficult?" A bitter smile crossed the housekeeper's face. "It was torture, Miss Marple. Every time he visited, I had to bite my tongue while he made his veiled threats. Yes, I hated him. But I didn't kill him, if that's what you're wondering. I was in the kitchen the entire afternoon, and cook will vouch for that." Before Miss Marple could respond, Lady Beatrice entered, leaning heavily on her walking stick. To be continued. Despite the early hour, she was fully dressed in black bombazine, her silver hair perfectly arranged. "Good morning," she announced, though her tone suggested she found nothing good about it. "I trust the household has recovered from last night's melodrama, or breaking windows with threatening messages. It's like something from a cheap novel." "Nevertheless, it happened," Miss Marple replied evenly. Lady Beatrice settled herself at the head of the table with the air of one accustomed to presiding. "I've been thinking, Miss Marple, you seem to have appointed yourself the investigator of this unpleasant business. What exactly are your qualifications for such a role?" "None whatsoever, Lady Beatrice. I'm simply an old woman who has observed human nature for many years." "Human nature? Pa. What you need are flowers. Facts, not observations." "I have facts." She rapped her stick on the floor for emphasis. "I was awake most of yesterday afternoon. My room overlooks the entrance hall, and I saw everyone's comings and goings." Miss Marple's interest quickened. "Indeed, that could be most helpful. I saw Edmund go into the library at 4:30. I heard the clock chime just moments before. He was carrying his briefcase, looking agitated. 10 minutes later, I saw someone else enter the library carrying a tea tray." "Who was it?" Lady Beatrice's eyes glittered with malicious satisfaction. That's the interesting part. I couldn't see clearly. My eyesight isn't what it was, but it was someone in dark clothing, moving quickly. Not one of the servants, I'm certain of that. The servant? The servants don't creep about like thieves. Could you determine if it was a man or a woman? Medium height, slender build. Could have been either. They wore a shawl or cloak of some kind. Pulled up over their head, quite deliberate, as though they didn't wish to be recognized. The breakfast room door opened. Sergeant Wilmot entered, looking as though he too had spent a sleepless night. Behind him came a distinguished gentleman in his 50s, carrying a black medical bag. Good morning, ladies. This is Dr. Ashton from London, a specialist in toxicology. The chief constable felt this case warranted expert consultation given the prominence of those involved. Dr. Ashton nodded politely. I've been asked to conduct a more thorough examination of the deceased and the crime scene. I understand you were among the first to view the body, Miss Marple. I was, Doctor. And you detected an odor of bitter almonds? Quite distinctly. I've encountered cyanide poisoning once before, a most unfortunate incident involving a village chemist who confused his bottles. Dr. Ashton's eyebrows. And his eyes? And his eyes? And his eyes? Dr. Ashton's eyebrows rose with interest. Ah, then you'll understand the significance of what I'm about to share. I examined Mr. Price's body early this morning, and while cyanide was certainly present, there was something else as well. Traces of digitalis, foxglove in common terms. Foxglove. Sergeant Wilmot looked confused. But that's a heart medicine, isn't it? In large doses, it's quite deadly. It causes irregular heartbeat, nausea, confusion. The interesting aspect is that Mr. Price had been ingesting digitalis for some time. There were chronic levels in his system. Not enough to kill him immediately, but enough to weaken his heart considerably. Miss Marple's needles had stopped moving. Are you suggesting he was being poisoned slowly, over a period of time? Precisely. Someone had been administering small amounts of digitalis to Mr. Price, perhaps in his food or drink, weakening him gradually. The cyanide was simply the final stroke. Quick, dramatic, but building on weeks or even months of preparation. Good God, Lady Beatrice whispered. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was calculated, deliberate, cold-blooded murder. The breakfast room door burst open, and Lord Ashford entered, his face flushed. Sergeant, I demand to know how much longer we are to be imprisoned in our own home. This is intolerable. I'm afraid it will be some time yet, Lord Ashford. This investigation has taken on a new dimension. Behind Lord Ashford came the rest of the household. Henry and Victoria, carefully not looking at each other. Diana, her eyes red from crying. And finally, Lady Constance, who met Miss Marple's gaze with silent desperation. Well, now that you're all assembled, Sergeant Wilmot said. I must ask each of you, did any of you regularly prepare food or drink for Mr. Price during his visits here? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Mrs. Blackwood spoke first. The kitchen staff prepared meals for everyone, Sergeant. No one received special treatment. But Mr. Price often took tea alone in his room or in the study, Lady Constance added softly. He preferred his own company when working. I would sometimes bring him a tray myself as a courtesy. Every eye turned to her. Henry laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. My mother the poisoner, who would have thought? Henry, Lord Ashford roared. How dare you suggest? I suggest nothing, father. I merely observe that mother had ample opportunity. As did everyone else. In this damned house. Victoria moved to the window, her back to the room. This is madness. We're all turning on each other like animals. That, Miss Marple said quietly, is precisely what the murderer wants. To create suspicion, confusion, fear. But murderers, in my experience, always make mistakes. And this one has made several. All eyes turned to her now. What mistakes? Sergeant Wilmot demanded. The threatening note, for one. It was too theatrical, too obvious. And the timing of the cyanide poisoning. Why administer it now, after weeks of slow poisoning with digitalis? Why risk such a dramatic attention-grabbing method, when the foxglove was doing its work quietly? Perhaps they grew impatient, Dr. Ashton suggested. Or perhaps, Miss Marple continued, her eyes moving from face to face. It's who different people are involved. One who had been poisoning Mr. Price slowly, and another who decided to finish the job quickly, for entirely different reasons. The silence that followed was profound. Somewhere in the house a clock began to chime 9 times. Marking another hour, in the deadly game being played at Thornfield Manor. Chapter 8. The garden path. After breakfast, Miss Marple requested permission from Sergeant Wilmot to take a walk in the gardens. The sergeant, perhaps recognizing that the elderly lady posed little flight risk, granted his approval. Though he assigned the young constable to accompany her at a discreet distance. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of autumn roses and damp earth. Miss Marple made her way along the garden path. And she was able to see the garden path, which was covered with gravel paths. Apparently admiring the neglected flower beds, but her mind was far from horticultural matters. She had learned much in the past 24 hours, but the pieces refused to form a coherent picture. 2 poisoners, if her theory was correct. 1 patient and methodical, administering digitalis over weeks. Another impulsive or desperate, using cyanide, and another impulsive or desperate. Using cyanide, and another impulsive or desperate, using cyanide. And another impulsive or desperate, using cyanide, and another impulsive or desperate, for immediate results. But were they working together, or at cross purposes? Miss Marple, wait please. She turned to find Diana hurrying down the path, a shawl wrapped tightly around her shoulders. The girl's face was pinched with cold and anxiety. My dear child, you should be inside. It's quite chilly. I had to speak with you privately. Last night, that note through my window. It wasn't meant for me at all. It was meant for you. Miss Marple regarded her thoughtfully. What makes you say that? Because you're the one asking questions. It's investigating. I'm just a frightened girl who happened to find the body. But they threw it through my window to make it seem random, to avoid making you the obvious target. Diana's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. You're in danger, Miss Marple. Whoever killed Mr. Price knows you're close to discovering the truth. And what truth might that be? Diana glanced back toward the house, ensuring they were not overheard. Mr. Price told me something the day before he died. He said my inheritance wasn't secure, that there were irregularities in how it had been managed since my parents' death. He said someone had been embezzling from the trust and he had proof. Miss Marple's needles paused. Did he say who? No, but he promised to show me the evidence this weekend. He said he was going to confront the person responsible and give them a chance to make restitution. He was too honorable, Miss Marple. He should have gone straight to the authorities. £50,000 is a considerable sum. Someone who had been stealing from your trust would have had powerful motivation to silence Mr. Price. That's what I've been thinking, and the only people with access to my trust fund are. The implications hung heavy in the autumn air. Lord Ashford, master of Thornfield Manor, a man of supposedly impeccable reputation, embezzling from his ward's inheritance? These are serious allegations, my dear. I know. That's why I'm so frightened. If Lord Ashford is the murderer, then no one in this house is safe. He has power, influence. Who would believe a young woman with no family against a man like him? Before Miss Marple could respond, another figure appeared on the path. Mrs. Blackwood, carrying a basket of cut flowers. Miss Diana, Lady Constance has been looking for you. She wants you to rest in your room after last night's upset. Diana cast a desperate look at Miss Marple. You will be careful, won't you? Please? I'm always careful, child. Now do as Mrs. Blackwood says. The girl hurried away, leaving Miss Marple alone with the housekeeper. They walked in silence for a moment before Mrs. Blackwood spoke. She's told you about the trust fund, hasn't she? About the missing money? Miss Marple said. Miss Marple's surprise must have shown, for the housekeeper smiled grimly. I keep the household accounts, Miss Marple. I see all the expenditures, all the income, and I've noticed discrepancies for the past 2 years. Large withdrawals that don't match any legitimate expenses. At first, I thought it was my mistake, my poor bookkeeping, but then I began to pay closer attention. And what did you discover? That someone has been systematically draining Miss Diana's trust fund. Not huge amounts at once, that would be too obvious. But regular withdrawals, disguised as legitimate expenses for her upbringing and education. Piano lessons that never happened. Clothing from shops she never visited. Medical treatments she never received. Did you confront Lord Ashford about this? Mrs. Blackwood's expression hardened. I mentioned the discrepancies to Mr. Price during his last visit. I thought perhaps there was some legal explanation I didn't understand. He thanked me and said he would look into it. 2 days later, he was dead. They had reached the far end of the garden, where a wrought iron gate led to a small cemetery containing generations of Ashfords. Beyond it, the woods pressed close, their branches skeletal against the gray sky. You think him in danger too, don't you? Mrs. Blackwood said quietly. Because I know about the money? I think everyone in this house is potentially in danger, until the murderer is caught. The housekeeper nodded, unsurprised. Then I should tell you the rest. I wasn't entirely truthful with you this morning. Yes, I was in the kitchen most of the afternoon. But I did leave for about 15 minutes. I went upstairs to retrieve something from my room. What time was this? Around 4:30. I passed by the library door on my way back down. It was closed, and I heard voices inside. Mr. Price and someone else. They were arguing. Miss Marple's attention sharpened. Did you recognize the other voice? It was muffled, but it sounded like Claude Ashford. I heard him say something about consequences and family honor. Then Mr. Price said quite clearly, you leave me no choice. That's when I hurried away. I didn't want to be caught eavesdropping. Why didn't you tell this to Sergeant Wilmot? Mrs. Blackwood's hands twisted in her apron. Because Lord Ashford has been my employer for over 20 years. Because I have a daughter whose future depends on my continued employment. Because her voice broke, because I'm a coward, Miss Marple. I value my security more than justice. You're human, Miss Marple corrected gently. And you've told me now, and which took considerable courage. A sound made them both turn. Henry Ashford had emerged from the woods, his clothes disheveled, mud on his boots. He looked startled to see them. Ladies, taking the air. His words were slightly slurred despite the early hour. Mr. Ashford, have you been in the woods? Miss Marple inquired. Just walking, clearing my head. This house suffocates me. He swayed slightly, then steadied himself against the cemetery gate. Do you know what's funny, Miss Marple? Everyone thinks I killed Edmund Price. My own father suspects me. Victoria certainly does. But I didn't, you see. I haven't the courage for murder. I can barely manage my own life, let alone end someone else's. Yet you had reason to wish him dead. Henry's laugh was bitter. Oh, I had reason. Edmund knew things about me. Debts, indiscretions, oh, humiliations. He held them over my head like a sword. But wishing someone dead, and actually doing it, are very different things. He pushed away from the gate. I loved my father once, Miss Marple. Did you know that? Before, I disappointed him so thoroughly that love turned to contempt. Now he can't wait for me to die, so he can leave everything to my hypothetical children. Children Victoria and I will never have. Mr. Ashford? But he had already lurched away, heading back toward the house with the unsteady gait of a man seeking his next drink. Mrs. Blackwood shook her head sadly. Such a waste. He was a bright, charming boy once. But this family has a way of destroying people. As they made their way back toward the manor, Miss Marple's mind was working rapidly. The picture was becoming clearer, though still incomplete. Embezzlement, a blackmail, family dysfunction, and now 2 methods of poisoning. Who had access to both digitalis and cyanide? Who had both the opportunity and the motive? As they approached the house, she saw Sergeant Wilmot standing at the entrance, his face grave. Dr. Ashton was with him, and they appeared to be in urgent discussion. Miss Marple, the sergeant called out. We've found something. Could you come inside, please? The tone of his voice sent a chill through her. Something else had happened, something that would change everything. In the entrance hall laid out on a table was Edmund Price's briefcase. The one that Victoria had sought in vain the previous night. It had been found, the sergeant explained. Hidden behind books in Lord Ashford's private study, and inside it. Carefully documented, it was evidence of systematic embezzlement from Diana Fletcher's trust fund. The proof pointed to one person and one person only. But as Miss Marple examined the papers, her experienced eye caught something that made her pause. The handwriting, the method of documentation, the way the figures had been recorded, something was not quite right. Sergeant, she said slowly, I believe we are meant to find this. Someone wanted us to discover this evidence in this particular place. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting, Miss Marple replied, that we may be looking at a very elaborate frame. And if I'm correct, the real murderer is still walking free and preparing to strike again. Chapter 9. The truth unravels. Sergeant Wilmot insisted on gathering everyone in the drawing room once more. The atmosphere was even more strained than before, but if such a thing were possible. Suspicion hung thick as fog, and no one would meet another's eyes directly. Lord Ashford stood by the fireplace, his face ashen. The briefcase and its damning contents sat on the center table like an accusation made manifest. This is preposterous, he declared, though his voice lacked its usual authority. Someone has planted this evidence in my study. I am being framed for embezzlement, and possibly for murder. That's convenient, Victoria said coldly from her position by the window. The evidence appears, and immediately you claim innocence. What else would a guilty man say? How dare you? I have served as Diana's guardian with perfect propriety. Every penny has been accounted for, except for the £50,000. The price for £100,000 is not even worth it. The price for £100,000 is not even worth it. There are 2 more pounds that have disappeared over 2 years. Dr. Ashton interjected, consulting the documents. The evidence here is quite thorough. Bills for services never rendered. Payments to fictitious vendors. Funds transferred to accounts that cannot be traced. Diana sat pale and silent, her hands clasped so tightly in her lap that her knuckles were white. Beside the girl, one hand on her shoulder. These accusations are destroying this family. Lady Constance said, her voice trembling. Reginald, tell them the truth. Tell them you didn't do this. I have told them, but who will believe me when the evidence is so carefully arranged? Henry laughed from his corner, glass in hand. Welcome to my world, father. The feeling of being judged and found wanting by everyone you know, it's quite liberating actually. Once you stop caring, this is not helpful, Mr. Ashford. Sergeant Wilmot said sternly. Now, Miss Marple, you said you believed someone wanted us to find this evidence. Would you care to explain? All eyes turned to the elderly lady who had been sitting quietly, her knitting needles moving in their steady rhythm. She set down her work and rose, moving to examine the briefcase and its contents more closely. The documents are too perfect, she began to neatly organize to complete. Mr. Price was by all accounts a meticulous man, but this, she gestured at the papers, this is the work of someone trying very hard to appear meticulous, someone who wanted to ensure we would find exactly what they wanted us to find. That's absurd, Lady Beatrice snapped. Evidence is evidence. Not always, Lady Beatrice. Consider, if you were embezzling funds, would you keep such detailed records of your crime? And if Mr. Price had discovered your theft, would he bring all the evidence to your home, where you could easily destroy it? Lord Ashford seized on this. Exactly. It makes no sense. Edmund would have kept such documents somewhere safe, with another solicitor, or in a bank vault. Miss Diana's trust, is it not? Some is transferred for her upkeep and expenses, and who authorizes those transfers? Lord Ashford signs the requests, but Mrs. Blackwood's voice faltered. But the actual paperwork is prepared by his secretary. All Lord Ashford does is sign. His secretary, Miss Marple repeated. Ah, and who might that be? A heavy silence fell over the room. Lady Constance's hand flew to her mouth. I handle Reginald's correspondence, she whispered. I manage his appointments, his business papers. I prepare documents for his signature. But Jane, surely you don't think I was showing you to your room? And then I went to. She stopped abruptly, her face draining of color. I went to the morning room to write letters, alone. I have no alibi. Constance, Lord Ashford moved toward his wife, but she backed away. No, Reginald, let her speak. Let Miss Marple say what she's thinking. Miss Marple's voice was gentle but inexorable. You've been embezzling from Diana's trust for 2 years, haven't you, Constance? Small amounts at first, if then larger sums, as you grew more confident. You needed the money desperately. For what, I cannot yet say. But something drove you to it. Perhaps debts of your own. Perhaps something else. Mr. Price discovered the theft when he reviewed the accounts. He confronted you, gave you a chance to confess and return the money. But you couldn't face the scandal, couldn't bear for your husband and friends to know what you'd done. Lady Constance stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. So you poisoned him, Miss Marple continued. Not with the cyanide. That came later. You'd been administering digitalis to him for weeks. In the tea you so kindly brought him during his visits. Foxglove grows wild in your gardens. You could easily have made an extract. But the digitalis was slow. And this weekend, Mr. Price was going to expose you. It's so yesterday afternoon. You brought him tea in the library. Tea laced with cyanide stolen from Victoria's medical kit. No, Lady Constance sobbed. I took the cyanide. Yes. I thought if I had it, I might find the courage to end my own life rather than face the shame. But I didn't use it on Edmund. I couldn't, Jane. You must believe me. Then who did? Sergeant Wilmot demanded. Miss Marple's expression was sorrowful. Someone who loved you enough to commit murder to protect you. Someone who saw you. Someone who was struggling with the tea tray, who noticed your distress, who knew or guessed what you were planning. Someone who took the poisoned tea from you and delivered it themselves. No, Lady Constance whispered. Please, no. The drawing room door opened, and Mrs. Blackwood entered, her face composed, almost peaceful. It was me, the housekeeper said simply. I killed Edmund Price. Not for love. Not for Lady Constance. Though I would have done had it been necessary. But for my daughter? She moved into the room with the calm dignity of someone who has finally laid down a crushing burden. 20 years ago, when my daughter was accused of theft, it wasn't Mr. Price who made that charge disappear. It was Diana's father, Mr. Fletcher himself, before he died. He was a kind man. Generous. He told me my daughter would have a second chance. But only if I promised to watch over his daughter should anything happen to him. To protect Diana as I would my own child. I don't understand, Diana said, her voice small. Your father and I were Mrs. Blackwood's voice caught. We knew each other before he went to India, before he made his fortune. I loved him once. But when he returned with a wife and child, I put those feelings aside and served his family as best I could. But when he lay dying of fever, he sent for me. He asked me to promise that I would ensure Diana's inheritance remained intact. That she would never want for anything. She turned to face them all, her eyes bright with tears but her voice steady. I've kept the household accounts for years. 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 I noticed the missing money almost immediately. I noticed the missing money almost immediately. At first, I thought it was Lord Ashford using Diana's funds for estate expenses he couldn't otherwise afford. But then I realized the pattern matched Lady Constance's management of the paperwork. I confronted her privately last month. She broke down, confessed everything. She'd been supporting her sister's family. The sister had married unwisely. He and her husband's gambling debts would have destroyed them. Constance couldn't bear to see her sister suffer. So she took money from Diana's trust, always intending to repay it. Lady Constance was weeping openly now. I was going to return it all. I had a plan. But Mr. Price discovered the theft, Mrs. Blackwood continued. And he was going to expose everything unless Constance confessed publicly. And finally, faced prosecution. The scandal would have destroyed this family. Ruined Diana's life. Sent Constance to prison. I couldn't allow that. I promised Diana's father. So you poisoned him, Sergeant Wilmot said heavily. Not at first. The digitalis was Constance's doing. She was desperate. Foolish. She thought if he died of a heart attack, no one would question it. But it was too slow. This weekend, he was going to go to the authorities. If so, I took the cyanide from Mrs. Victoria's medical kit. I have keys to all the rooms, you see. I prepared the tea myself and brought it to Mr. Price in the library. I told him it was from Lady Constance. An apology, a peace offering. He drank it while I watched. He died very quickly. The room was utterly silent save for Lady Constance's quiet sobbing. He was very angry. He was very angry. He was very angry. Then I hid his briefcase in Lord Ashford's study, planning to discover it later and make it seem he was the thief and the murderer. But I underestimated you and Miss Marple. You saw through my deception. Miss Marple's voice was heavy with sadness. The broken window. The threatening note. Those were your work as well, weren't they? You hoped to frighten everyone. To make them believe there was some outside threat. You hoped to frighten everyone. To make them believe there was some outside threat. You hoped to frighten everyone. To make them believe there was some outside threat. You hoped to frighten everyone. To make them believe there was some outside threat. But the note was written in block letters, identical to those you use when labeling preserves in the kitchen. I saw them this morning. Mrs. Blackwood smiled faintly. You don't miss much, do you? Yes, that was foolish of me. But I was growing desperate. You were asking too many questions, noticing too many details. Sergeant Wilmot moved forward. Mrs. Edith Blackwood, I am arresting you for the murder of Edmund Price. You are not obliged to say anything. I understand, Sergeant. She held out her wrists for the handcuffs with quiet dignity. Might I ask one thing? Please make it clear that Lady Constance had no knowledge of my actions. The embezzlement was her crime, yes. But the murder was mine alone. As the sergeant led her toward the door, she heard a voice. The door, Mrs. Blackwood paused beside Diana. I'm sorry, child. Your father would have been ashamed of me. But I couldn't let his promise be broken. Your inheritance will be restored. Lady Constance will see to that, I'm certain.